Hey El, how you doing today?
Hi, good morning.
Thanks for sitting down with me. I know it's earlier in the morning. I'm definitely feeling it with my coffee and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what you been up to? What's keeping you busy these days?
So, since the war started, a lot of parents have been reaching out to me because the chronic stress that's been stimulated because of the war has been it has been a deal breaker for a lot of kids' behavior. A
Mm,
lot of executive functioning gets really messed up when they're under stress. Parents' executive functioning gets gets challenged as well, and it's just bringing out a lot of the worst and a lot of the
mm,
best in their kids. So people are coming to me and calling and just really desperate for tools on how to be able to manage this, because this isn't going away. So how are we
mm.
going to be able to help these kids that they should be able, and we're going to help ourselves being able to manage all of the chronic stress that's going on right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So you've seen an uptick in your practice as a parent therapist?
significantly,
Okay.
significantly,
How
which
is
I
it
respect very much.
how is it different post-war as opposed to pre-war? I mean, what did your practice look like? What did your work look like up until? Is it just more bigger, more of the same but bigger, or what's?
It's more of the same and bigger.
Mm,
I'm I have been in the process of creating a new type of therapy that doesn't actually exist yet, that I'm in the process of working on.
mm,
And since the war, I have had not 1 minute to be able to work on it. So I learned to be a tour guide, and I
okay.
want to create, and I have started to work on a system of using nature as a means to be able to do therapy with
Mm,
like our most severely hurt parents, families, children. It's just Eritrea is very therapeutic in and of itself. So that's been my dream,
mm,
and now it's just been almost impossible to get out of the office because it's just
okay.
nonstop. People are just tell me what to do. They're just desperate. Like, how
Right.
do we handle it?
Right, right, right. Maybe we'll swing back to that. That's a really cool idea you have there. But maybe first might be nice for everyone listening to maybe know a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you go to school? How did you end up becoming a therapist and a therapist who wants to work outside an office? So that's even cooler.
Okay, so I live in Beitar. We've been here for the last 17 and a half years. I got my master's degree from Hebrew University. Then I went on, I learned, and I worked in sex therapy, in play therapy, and in group therapy. I've learned a lot of modalities,
Mm,
ADHD coaching. Um, Basically, what I've been trying to find is a means that people can, rather than just rehashing all of the pain that they're in and rehashing everything that's happened in their lives that's been so hard, giving them tools to be able to move forward and to not just constantly be focusing on the pain, but
mm,
how can I move forward? So I feel like in a lot of, certainly in sex therapy, it's so old school. The way that they do it is it's just rehashing traumas over and over again. And then
mm,
it not only does it reinforce, but it doesn't give any tools for moving forward. It's like a little bit here and a little bit there. And I just feel like this is not, these people are in pain. Like,
mm,
let's help them get to the next step as opposed to constantly being stuck. So I was constantly on the move trying to figure out how can we do this? What can we do to make it better? What can we use a different type of energy in therapy?
mm,
Um, and then I went to ADHD coaching because I am ADHD. My
mm,
husband is ADHD. We have 5 out of our 8 children are diagnosed ADHD.
mm,
And I just feel like these kids are gifts. The talents that they have, the abilities that they have, It's just giving them the ability to use it in context of the world is a challenge. So I wanted to be able to take these kids, and before, because a lot of people that come to me in therapy are dealing with traumas from their childhood,
Okay.
but I wanted to be able to take the childhood and switch it around so that they don't need to come to therapy. That it's something that they can embrace themselves as children.
Mm.
And on the derech, on the way to be able to get to being able to do this, I learned about this concept called the it's called CPS, Think Kids. It's an organization based in Harvard University, and it's a shita called the explosive child. And basically, what it does is it gives the room for the kids to be able to express themselves within the context of a relationship. In this context, I like to teach the parents how to do it, but I
Mm.
also I've been training a lot of clinicians and all that to be able to do it in their therapy practices. And it gives the kids to be able to express themselves, to be able to figure out themselves, to develop the skills that they need, and to also get the context of what society expects from them, how to function within a school system, in a world system where you live with other people. So it's not just my crazy ideas, it's also how can I bring it into the context of real life. And it's working together as a team. It's called collaborative parenting.
Mm.
So so I really feel like this energy is the thing that we need to be able to help, to be able to to save them,
Yeah.
to give them the skills for life. They don't need to be traumatized. They don't need to feel like that they're that they're weird and that they're different and they're whatever. They're them and they love them and they embrace themselves, and we're gonna do it as a team. And I just think that once I started getting into it, I was like, this is amazing. Like
Mm.
this is groundbreaking. And the professor that created the system, Ross Green, he created it in juvenile delinquent centers and
Yep.
psychiatric hospitals. So he was taking the kids that are the most rejected by society, basically, and didn't he was able to develop this, that the kids really own themselves and develop themselves and really became happy, functional people in society within the context of themselves,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
I think is without like breaking them down. So, so this is what I've been working in, and this is my message that I want to bring out to everyone in the world right now, because everyone is just trying to figure out how to handle everything that's happening in
Mm.
the world. So, so then I developed this workshop so that I could give the basic tools from the explosive child onto
Okay.
parents.
Maybe we'd like to double click on something you said that your
Yeah,
dissatisfaction that you had finished this degree, it seems like a lot of the areas that are interesting to you that are drawing to you are very are hyper relationship based. I mean, intimacy and children and
yeah,
the what I find kind of curious is that like listening to you, I hear this like this archetypal, compassion, mom figure. But usually in therapy, that I'm kind of curious if this was your experience, because usually in
yeah,
therapy, like in a therapeutic context, that can be very much like, oh, have an energy of, oh, sweetie, come and sit, and we'll just, you know, I'll hold your pain, and it's more, there isn't really an energy of pushing forward. There's more of a comfort, like, like there, and that's important. I'm not necessarily, poo-pooing that, but like there's such of like a vibrancy in the way that you're describing what you wanted your work to be. And so I'm kind of curious, like, am I hitting on something? Do you resonate
you
with
have
it?
asked very good questions. I'm impressed. So basically, I think that it's very important to be able to give a person the feeling they're there, I'm with you, you're not a
Yeah.
weirdo, that you're struggling. And at the same time, you kind of got to kick him in the tuchus a little bit. Like, you're awesome and you're going to be able to accomplish it, and I'm not letting you get away with any of your nonsense anymore. Like, and
Okay.
you and me are going to figure it out together, and I'm going to be a little bit tough on you,
Yeah.
but it's going to be in the context of like, you're awesome and I love you. So so it's definitely relationships, especially people with ADHD who just feel so weird, or people
Mm,
with anxiety. They just you feel so different than everyone else, and you just feel so like not connected to the rest of society. Everyone else seems to be functioning. Everyone else is happy, and like, look at me, I can't get out of bed in the morning. Like, what's wrong with me? So certainly that feeling of you are in a context of a relationship where the person really appreciates you, and I think that's a gift that I have, that I'm able to see the dirty, unkempt, like smelly kid
mm,
or grown up. Or I also learned to maternal, so I also like have addicts and stuff that are
yeah.
coming, especially in the context of the sex therapy, where like a lot of times the depression and the everything will just take their ability to present themselves properly will be taken away.
Mm,
So I'm able to see past that. So I could say you're awesome to a person that no one's ever been able to say that to before. And then from there, it's like, you're awesome. And now we're going to figure it out. And I'm going to push you a little bit. And that's where my Israeli side comes in.
okay.
That I could be obnoxious like that, but only in the context of like, you could do it, and we're gonna do a plan where you see that they could do it. So it's definitely true that I have that, but I definitely use it in a bigger context of how to do therapy. Like, let's say, for example, taking a kid on a hike to be able to
Yeah.
deal with anxiety and all of that. Like, you're stuck in the middle of the mountain. Like, sorry, buddy, you want to run away? Have fun. Like, where are
Go
you gonna
go
go?
for it. It's time to earn running away. Let's go.
So
Right, yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
a kid will be like, okay, so I need to do it a different way. I want to go this way. I want to do it this way instead. I want to stop. I want to take out the finjan and I want to make a cup of coffee.
Mm,
And through that, they're able to develop a lot of insight into themselves.
mm.
But you can't give up because you're stuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you're just in a mountain. And you know what that does to someone's self-esteem, when you're stuck and you feel like you can't do anything, and you're stuck and you're stuck and you're stuck, and then you overcome it and you do it, and it's just boom, it's amazing. It changes the whole brain makeup. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and that, I love listening to what you're describing because that's exactly what self-esteem is. Self-esteem is not, a lot of people kind of think of it as this sort of like introspective, self-focus, almost kind of like yesh ma'ayin, like, ex nihilo, create your own value. But it doesn't work that way. Like you actually have to do something. It's competency.
When you
Like you
see
do some,
yourself
yeah,
when you see yourself overcome something really hard, I'll
yeah,
tell you something extremely embarrassing. When I learned to be a tour guide, I was the oldest and the fattest in my group, because who learns to be a tour guide? These young, fit ladies, right? And I'm just like, I'm 40. I'm a lot older than these
yeah.
cute. I have friends that are 18 now. It's very weird. I
Hmm.
have a 16-year-old daughter. So basically, whenever we were on the hikes, one of these delicious girls that were in my group with me, they would take turns who was going to be in the back with Yael, because Yael was taking longer than everyone else. But they were so cute about it. And then at the end of every hike, everyone would be like exhausted because they worked so hard. And I worked 1,000 times harder than everyone else. But I was so pumped. I was like, guys, I did it. I climbed down that mountain. I
Yeah,
went down. It was like unbelievable. It's like self-esteem, like to the shamayim. Like, it
yeah.
was just, wow, go Yael, go. And I'm
That's
like, and I
cool.
want to be able to give every kid and every parent that feeling, that my life might be a mountain and I could get to the top and I'm gonna dance through it and it's gonna be awesome. So that's basically my goal, is that life should have this fun, awesome energy, and being able to appreciate yourself, and being able to find your way within society.
Hmm.
And this CPS method, this collaborative problem solving method, really gives those skills. It
Okay.
really develops those skills. It's mind boggling.
And Ross Green also, like, he has that air about him. Like, he's a very, like, hands-on, like, saltier sort of guy. I can see, like,
Yeah,
you connecting
you
with him.
you could see that people who are struggling could get it,
Yeah.
like get it from him. Like, he knew what he was doing.
So what made you say, I mean, because you could have, done the learned a similar program, or stay in Israel. But you went all the way to Harvard. Like what compelled you to say, I'm going out, I'm finding this guy, and I'm grabbing him, and I'm doing this?
So a few things. Um, One of them is I think that um, especially people with ADHD like myself, but people in general definitely learn much better within the context of human interaction. So I could have done the course on online on Zoom, but I decided that I was going to go in and I flew in because I really wanted to be able to be part of the workshops and to really get engaged and to really
Yeah,
be involved with learning. And I really feel like I was able to I was able to absorb it in a way that I wouldn't have been able to done if I'm like playing around on the computer and I'm just like
right.
I'm really present when I was learning the information when I went to the course.
Cool.
And the other thing is that I did it with my mother.
Oh, that's interesting.
We did it
Okay.
together. My
Okay.
mother's a principal in the Maimonides School in Boston,
Hmm.
and they're implementing these ideas into their school. So I hitched a ride along with them. It was so much fun.
That's
We
really
made
neat.
a lot of
Okay.
trouble together. It was fun.
Oh, great. That's cool. That's cool.
These people like they're just like average American like really good people, but they had no idea what to do with us. Like these two Orthodox ladies like coming in with their shaitels and they were like what's happening? It was
Yeah.
very fun.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like the image. It's a really cool picture you're painting.
And like as we were leaving, because the last class was Erev Shabbos, so we had to leave for Shabbos.
Hmm.
So like these big black ladies and Spanish people and whatever, they were all like coming over and hugging us, and like we're keeping in touch with everyone. Like it was a great experience.
That's
It was really
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So maybe, maybe say a little bit about the actual approach, this parenting approach. Because there's a lot. I think, geez Louise, there's like close to 600 different types of parenting approaches. Nearly all of them have zero evidence base. It's just kind of some person's great idea. Lord knows if
Right.
it's actually a good idea. But this program is legitimate. So, what sets this part apart from the rest? What makes it unique? What parts are emotion in this
So
parenting approach?
so basically the way that it works is it is the first thing is that it's very applicable to every child and every parent at every stage of parenting.
Mm,
So you could implement it for your 4-year-old, and you could implement it with your 16-year-old who's being rebellious and doing whatever they're doing and not in school and whatever else they're doing. It's very gamish. It's very flexible. So you
mm,
can you take the concepts and you apply it to your life, and it really works for everyone. Um, the first the first thing that I would say is that the basics, like the building blocks of it, is that it's skill, not will.
mm,
These kids want to be successful. And when you look at them as kids that want to be successful, so first of all, your energy to them changes. And then also, you realize that there's something blocking them. So if a kid or a person is not being successful in life, they're not able to do the things that are expected of them, and they're not able to reach the milestones that they're trying to reach, that means that there's a skill that's lacking there.
yeah.
Once you identify the skills that are lacking, then what happens is it's usually about 10, 12, 15 skills that depending on the child that they're really suffering in. And then you could see the temper tantrums and the running out of the house and the chutzpah and the whatever else is basically whenever one of those 15 skills get touched. So it means that essentially their delinquent behavior is predictable. It's highly predictable because once you figure out what the skill sets that they're missing, you know what is going to trigger it and what's not. So
Yeah.
once something is highly predictable, then you can game plan it and you can figure out how to handle it, what to do, um, what the kid needs, but it has to be done within the context of the kid saying what they need because
Mm,
it. Adult theories, it's called. My adult theory is that my kid is suffering because of X, Y, and Z. Says who? You're in their brain, you're in their life, you're in their skin. You could say exactly what's bothering them, why they're acting out, and why they're doing what they're doing. You have no clue.
Mm.
Like, you're just making your theory based on what you see from the outside, not from what's actually happening on the inside. So so you have a conversation with them, and you make a plan with them based on hearing what they have to say about themselves.
Hmm.
Um, there's a whole context to how to create this conversation and the dealing with the chronic stress in the relationship. And then there's a whole game plan for the parents of they have called plan A, plan B, and plan C
Mm.
of how to structure your relationship with them and the chronic stress that the kid's under so that you can lower the chronic stress so that they could start developing their skills. Because a person that's under chronic stress is not going to be able to develop any skills.
Right.
And most of these kids are super chronically stressed because they're failing in life. So you need to make a plan of how to lower the stress so that they could start building up their life again. So I use it with my 4-year-olds. I have 4-year-old twins. I use it every day. They can sit down with me and they can have a conversation with me about what's bothering them and what they need and how to do it. I do plan B with them all day long, for sure. It also works with my teenagers. It also works with people that
Mm.
come to me for ADHD coaching. Like
Yeah.
it's a system that's able to be worked with in all different contexts.
Maybe could you give an example of at this stage where, because you're interviewing this kid, you're trying to figure out, well, what, I mean, it kind of sounds like, what are you trying to achieve, kid? Like, what's your aim? Because I suppose like there is a tension between um, developing a kid in such a way where they have the internal compass necessary to push forward in their life. At the same
Right?
time, well, it's pretty handy to live life in such a way where people don't hate you. That seems to open doors socially when people
Right, right.
don't, if they don't dislike you, you're doing something good. So like what's that conversation like, and how do you balance the individual and social element of that?
Okay. So I'm going to give you an example from my 4-year-old. Okay.
Mm,
Um, he is 4. His name is Shaya. My husband had cancer last year,
mm,
and it didn't seem to trigger anything in Shaya. Shaya was fine.
okay.
Then Baruch Hashem. Then there was the war, and Shaya also he ran around outside on the first day of Simchas Torah with the Hazakot and everything, and I was trying to find him. Thought it was hysterical. He didn't get it, Baruch Hashem. And once he did get it, he davened about it. His behavior was fine. Everything was fine with him. And then one day, he couldn't sleep at night and started stuttering.
Hmm.
So we're trying to figure it out. And I'm like making my adult theories, what it could be, what could happen, like what's going on with him. And I couldn't guess. There's no way that I could guess.
Hmm.
So I sat down with him and I gave him the platform to be able to speak. And I just slowly dug like it's digging for information to find out what's happening with him, and it's not it's listening. So
Mm.
basically I'm asking questions, I'm clarifying it. He has a very good relationship with me, so he feels safe in the context of being able to explore with me. And I gave him this whole platform to be able to figure it out. And then once he said to me, I saw a black chatula and it scared me. And now I see him coming to me at night.
Mm.
And I'm like, there's no way that I could have guessed that. That's not
Okay.
something that I could guess. So then I said to him, is there anything else that's bothering you? Anything else that's happening that mommy should know about? And then he said, there's a few boys that are hitting him and gone. Okay. Is there anything else that I should know about? Anything else that's happening with you that you think is important? No, those are the two things that we clarified. That's the first part of the conversation. It's
Okay.
digging and just giving them the platform without judgment, without opinions. And again, in this context, there was no way that I was going to guess that the black chatula was bothering him
That was
when his
what.
father had cancer and that didn't bother him very
Right.
much.
Okay.
Very
Right.
nice. Okay, I'm going to guess that. Then the next part of the conversation is basically me saying to him, I'm worried about for you, like what in the context for you, I'm worried about for you that when you wake up at night, you're not going to be able to sleep well, you're not going to be able to grow. So what can we do? So then he came up with a bunch of ideas of things that we could do to help him, and then
Mm.
I came up with a bunch of ideas, and then we analyzed it. Is this going to be able to help you so that you could sleep at night? Is this going to be able to help you so that you're not afraid? And we
Mm.
made a game plan together of what he needs. Turns out he needs his toy guns and his toy knives and all these things underneath his pillow at night.
Okay,
And
okay.
that way, if the black Hatula comes, he's going to feel safer.
Yeah, that cat's gonna think twice with that arsenal.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So basically, and it was in the context of him. So he came up with a plan. He trusts himself. And then a couple days later, I saw he was waking up again. So I said,
Mm.
are the guns and the knives not working? And like we reevaluated it, and he gave me like he gave the ideas of what he needed, and then we were able to just move on. So that's like a very simple example, a very easy example, but that's the three stages. Giving the kid the time and the space in a context of a healthy relationship where they don't feel stressed out, they don't feel triggered, where they're able to talk about what they need and talk about what they're feeling. Then me saying something that concerns me, saying the adult concern,
Yeah,
and taking that into
yeah.
consideration. Very bikatan, very simple. So what it has to do in context of him, not what it has to do. If you don't sleep at night, I'm not going to be able to sleep in it. That's not it. And then the next stage is making a game plan together and then constantly reevaluating it, making sure it meets my goals and making sure it meets his goals, and then taking that context, taking that game plan and constantly evaluating it and making sure that it still works. So it develops his communication skills, it develops his emotional skills, it's developing our relationship more, and it's creatively finding a solution to something that is really bothering him.
Yeah.
And he knows that I'm with him in, even if I don't agree that the black cat in the middle of the night is going to come get you, but he knows that I'm with him in his struggle.
That is beautiful. That is great. That is really great. I mean, that's the ABCs of problem solving, essentially. Like, have an open mind, stop projecting your own worries of the war or this or whatever, like open playing field. Hey, what's the issue? Let's make a list of really awesome and out there solutions and then try them,
A
essentially.
lot of
That's
problems
great.
once you get to kids that are older though, is that they're under this chronic stress and the relationship with their parents is stressed.
Mm,
So with a 4-year-old, Baruch Hashem, our relationship isn't stressed. It's possible to have a stressed relationship with a 4-year-old. Um, but in this context, it happens to be that it's not. But let's say with a kid that's much older, usually there's a lot of tension between the
mm,
parents and the kid.
yeah, yeah.
So the first thing before being able to have this conversation is lowering the stress level and just developing a more of a quiet, not judgmental type of relationship so that you guys can really explore stuff together. It's also having a conversation in that context, but on smaller details as opposed to bigger things so that they can develop the skills and also they could see that they could trust you. Because
Yeah,
right now, the parent is constantly telling me what's going to be shidduchim and what's going to happen to you and you're going to get kicked out of school and da 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 and all of that. And all of that stress that's just making the kid more stressed out and not accomplishing anything. Um, a parent just feels helpless and they don't know what to do with themselves anymore because this kid is just not doing what not pulling their weight.
yeah.
So lowering that stress level so that you can really start developing skills and really start having conversations and exploring it together. So too it's also it's different with younger kids than with the older kids, but it's the same framework.
Yeah, okay. 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 So this, maybe kind of jump in the workshop that you're going to be running that's coming up here. Next week, when's the workshop?
It's on the 14th of February.
Uh,
Yeah, that's next Wednesday. Yeah.
okay, so I mean, this is going to be a part of the workshop. What are you covering? In what can people who want to sign up expect?
So I am like, I want to be able to give out everything. It's not so simple to be able to do that, and like it's thousands of pages of information and context and how to do it
Mm,
and what to do and how to say this conversation and click and and like catchphrases and things and whatever. It's a lot of information. So basically, what I wanted to do is just I wanted to be able to do that switch in the parents' minds of how to approach your child and how to come without judgment, to be open to being able to hear them, to being open to how to the kids' context,
mm.
and being able to start to develop the skills to have that type of conversation, to have a conversation where the kid isn't feeling judged and where you guys can game plan together how how to um how to move forward. So it's a taste of it, but I
Okay.
think that there's real skills inside of it that could be implemented right now, because that's basically my goal is I want these parents to be able to leave being like, okay, I'm changing the way that we're dealing with stuff. I'm looking at this kid differently, and now I have now I'm beginning to be able to understand it. It's the start of a conversation, but it's a significant start.
No, that is a very significant start. I mean, it sounds like essentially you're trying to orient the parents here to take a risk. You know, that they're worried about their kid, they're doubling down, they're white knuckling it, they're trying to solve the problem, it ain't working, and you're coming along saying, "Hey guys, we're just gonna have to risk the thing that you don't want to do. We'll have to try something else because it ain't working." I mean, that's a huge risk. That's a
We're
huge ask of
we're gonna
somebody.
rewire everything,
Yeah,
but it's a huge risk, but it works.
yeah, yeah.
It's really very cool that it works. What I did was I took all of the information from all the different cheetahs that have developed through Ross Green's Explosive Child, and I developed it into a 6 week parent training class. Which is what I do is I have the parents come individually and we try to do it in the context of their child.
Hmm.
And then there's constant, like once a month, reviewing it and whatever. But I have seen that even with the 6 weeks, it's just a total switch in the brain. It's 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 just a total movement of how you're approaching them, and the kids are a little bit skeptical because they're like, "Wait a minute!" All of a sudden, you're listening to me like, "Where did this come from?" So,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, my opinion counts,
Hmm.
because basically what we're doing in standard chinuch nowadays is that we're trying to direct them because we love them and we just want them to be normal. But basically, we're modeling to them not listening to the other person because we're not listening to them.
Hmm.
Like, I don't feel like going to school today. So you're like, no, but you have to go to school today. And then it's like, what basically you just did was you modeled and taught the child
Hmm.
how to disregard what someone else is saying to you. And then you want them to take you seriously, but
Yeah.
you taught them already how not to take anyone else seriously. So why should they take what you say seriously when they when they were taught already that you don't have to take other people seriously? It's just what you want to take seriously. So this is to go from enemies to collaborating together, from going from I'm imposing what I want on you, and then we're instead it's in the context of life. I want you to function, and the kid has the internal motivation. It's just
Hmm.
covered underneath up of a lot of pain and lack of skills and pain, basically.
Yeah, being in the standoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that is really cool. So this is like a one-off workshop, but then you have the six part option that people can follow up
Right.
and get the meat of the skills that okay, that is pretty
And
cool.
that's also that putting it in the context of their child, because people are
Mm,
going to hear now in theory and be like, yeah, that'll work for you, but it's not going to work for my kid because my kid is severely delinquent, severely inflexible, whatever it is.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden they see they're like, well, first of all, I have that in my family, so you can't beat me in much. Like, you think that your kid's doing worse than I got the medal for that one.
Yeah, okay.
So it works for for everyone. It really does. And I'll tell you something else. In one of my kids' schools, all of the teachers came over to me when we had, not all, five. I thought it was very interesting.
Mm.
Five of my kids, five teachers came over to me after I started implementing the CPS method in my house and said to me, "What did you do? Give me a bracha." And it was like I was giving out brachos. I'm like, okay, like I'm the baba. Like they were shocked.
You
They're
just
like,
yeah, you
this
don't need a
kid.
bracha. Just take Green's book. Here, yeah.
Here you go. Yeah, it's in English. What can I say?
Yeah.
Um, but but the truth is that I found that reading it from the book, it's a lot of concepts. It's very big.
Hmm.
So being able to implement it from the book, I had a very hard time doing that.
Right.
I
Well, it's
didn't
also it's
think
a doing thing. I mean, being an
it's a
abstract
doing.
idea is fun and all, but you have to do it.
So in the book, they try very hard to make it practical, but it's just really up in the air and very hard to do it in context of that kid. So like really, it has to be done with. And I felt that with myself. I read the book 100 times and it didn't help. Once I went to the course and they were guiding me through how to do it, all of a
Hmm.
sudden it like all of the pieces clicked together. So it definitely makes a big difference having someone
Yeah.
in
Right,
context
right.
for your
It's like baseball. Like, good luck describing it. You just have to do it. And then you see how
right.
it all fits. Yeah.
And then it becomes very natural. It's a very hard process to like rewire your brain, but then after a while it just becomes very natural. I'm doing plan B's with my kids in my sleep now. Like it's just a little bit ridiculous. Let me sleep,
Yeah.
but it becomes very natural, and it also becomes natural for the kids. They're used to you being their advocate, and
Hmm.
they love it that you're their advocate, and you love it that that you hear them.
Yeah.
So then they know where to go, and we want to maintain that. Life is hard. We want to be there for real. And we want them to know for real that we're there for them.
Hmm. Hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. So you sound busy. You're doing a lot of different things. I mean, are you
Oh
are you
yeah.
maintaining all these different areas, like, with sex therapy and ADHD, like you're still doing all that work, or I mean, is your
No.
efforts only in the parenting?
So I've I stopped doing the sex therapy because it's very psychoanalytic, like
Mm,
the sheet that I learned, and I felt like it wasn't helping so much. Like
right.
it was helping, but it was very heavy. Um, so I've been focusing more on the ADHD coaching and doing the CPS coaching. And been giving classes everywhere. It's exhausting. It's awesome. Like that's really where my focus has been more on helping the parents, helping the kids. I'm doing CPS coaching with kids instead of the parents if the parents are not able to
Mm,
keep the relationship or help them or whatever it is. Like they're when the kid is so chronically stressed and their parents are their trigger, so then so then they come to me and I'm able to do stuff with them.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm super busy, Baruch Hashem. And my kids, once in
Yeah,
a while
yeah.
they need
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. Okay. Well, it was really nice talking with you, and it sounds like you have an amazing workshop. Like it's really like it's
me.
clear like you have like your soul's in it. It's really like cool to hear you
Oh,
talk
my
about it.
soul in it.
Yeah.
Oh boy, my soul in it. Totally.
Okay. So that's probably a good place to be. We'll call it a day on that, and maybe we'll have to talk to you again as a follow-up how things are progressing on your end. I mean that the nature approach, getting people out and
Oh
moving.
yeah,
That
that's
like we
that's
should we should have a talk about that. That sounds pretty cool.
yeah, that's gonna be soon. Now
Okay.
it's hard to also go on trips. There, you can't get any shore from anyone to be able from
Right.
the.
Okay. Right. Right.
So
Right. Right.
we're a little
So.
bit stuck right now. But Mirza Hashem, it'll be good, and we'll be able to go.